See, what I can't understand is why you gotta come down here bringing all this ruckus.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't feel. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Well, you might remember the giant cockroach in the movie Men in Black, basically a space cockroach. Well, did you know that we've got giant cockroaches here on Earth as well? We've got cockroaches in aircraft, cockroaches in factories, cockroaches in Earth-made spaceships. Not actual cockroaches, of course, but the sort of gremlins that get into sophisticated machines that make them dumb, make them unsafe, make them liable to fall out of the sky. Why? Well, more haste, less speed, apparently. Did you know it's been almost 2 months since the Starliner crew docked with the International Space Station on June 14th? The mission was supposed to last 1 week. Now it's heading for the 8-week mark, and you kind of get the feeling that they're just going to leave the spaceship there. It's just too unsafe to fly back. Also, the Boeing Starliner's battery life only lasts 45 days, but the spacecraft is now being charged by the space station. It's also looking clearer and clearer that the Boeing Starliner crew are, and have been, trapped in space, because it now seems as if the Starliner is going to be ditched, as I say, perhaps to be safe, perhaps because it is unsafe, in favor of a return on a scaled down, in terms of its crew, SpaceX Dragon ship. Now, if that happens, Boeing is going to have a moon-sized portion of egg over its corporate face. Before we get to the rest of this analysis, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Bear in mind, if you're not getting notifications on YouTube, you should follow me on Twitter or on X. I'm at Crime Rocket, so go over there to get notifications. I post every video that I put up. I also post the link on X. So if you're not getting notifications and you want them, head over to X. If you're finding this analysis worthwhile, if you want more coverage of the Starliner debacle, bear in mind I have a really interesting playlist on the Titan submersible. A lot of people really enjoyed that. If you'd like more of that kind of analysis, please let me know in the comments. Also, if you're enjoying this analysis, please like, share, leave a comment. You can also hit the thanks button, and let's get started. Now, according to Gizmodo, quote, NASA officials are considering delaying the launch of SpaceX's Crew 9 mission from August 18th, that is really 10, 11 days away, to September 24th, and putting 2 astronauts instead of 4 on board the Crew Dragon to allow for the Starliner crew to hop on a different vehicle for their journey back to Earth. So in other words, instead of coming back to Earth on the Starliner, looks like the Dragon X is going to play the basically the taxi for these Boeing crew. And that would be a huge embarrassment to Boeing on top of everything that's happening. According to Gizmodo, the move would signal the failure of Starliner's first voyage to the ISS with astronauts on board, and would confirm that despite NASA's attempts to downplay the spacecraft's glitches, it was not fit to carry a crew back to Earth. Now, I was actually in Florida earlier this year at Cape Canaveral to watch the Starliner launch, and with 2 hours to go, it simply didn't launch. Pretty disappointing. It's been disappointing ever since. Now, I don't know about you, but whenever I fly, and I fly transcontinental a few times a year, I sigh a sigh of relief when I see I'm not flying Boeing. I know I'm not the only one. Meanwhile, Boeing's sales have plunged 70% in the first 6 months of this year. In June, it sold just 3 passenger jets, and one of those was to Alaska Airlines to replace the plane used in the January 5th flight, which Boeing has repurchased from the airline. I think that's a quote from CNN. And so the cockroaches analogy really works, and I believe is true in the sense that one cockroach is sometimes often the sign of many more cockroaches. And in Boeing's case, that has certainly seemed to be the case. You know, you open the can of worms and there's just so much additional problems going on. According to barchart.com, they define cockroach theory as follows. The cockroach theory in investing says that when a company shares bad news, it could be an early sign of bigger problems, like how finding one cockroach usually means there are more hidden.
Let's get the obvious stuff out of the way.
So what is Boeing's real problem besides the obvious corporate greed and cutting corners? Well, according to a CNN article, workers on the Boeing 737 MAX, that the one that lost the door plug on a January flight, told federal safety investigators that they felt pressure to do their jobs too fast to avoid mistakes. And that's according to testimony released on Tuesday at the start of a 2-day investigative hearing.
Well, it's tough to get any more obvious than that.
So what we're seeing here are, if you think about it, echoes of the Rust incident. Think about Alec Baldwin's film set, which also became a safety hazard. Why? Because of this low-budget approach, because of a culture of rushing, and also a culture of ignoring safety aspects. What happens when you do that? Let's face it, when it comes to cutting costs, safety is a cost. Safety takes time, safety takes up resources, and safety is ultimately expensive. Of course, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you end up with an unsafe craft at the end of the day, like an unsafe set, it could cost lives and you may end up losing the whole shebang because of your greedy impatience.
This bullshit that you think is so important, you can just kiss all that goodbye.
You may remember the lesson in the movie Aliens from all the way back 1986, where it was also greed that made them very insensitive to the cockroaches they were dealing with in that story. And what ultimately happened there? Lots of lives were lost. Lots of money was lost as well. Now, according to the same article from CNN, since that report, Boeing has said the reasons for the oversight came down to something as simple as a lack of paperwork. According to Boeing, the workers who fixed the rivets didn't generate the paperwork indicating they had moved the door plug and the 4 bolts in order to do that work. Why? Because they were rushing, because they were being pressurized. And so basically, this is what someone said, we are the cockroaches of the factory. You know, like they're being kicked around, they're being pushed around, get the job done. We don't care how you do it, just get it done. And a Boeing team captain at the 737 factory told investigators of problems of low employee morale and high turnover. Well, we saw that on the Rust set as well. And so the Boeing team captain also said, we have a lot of turnover specifically because, you know, this can be a stressful job. What the company wants and what we have the skills and capabilities to perform at the time, sometimes that doesn't coincide. And so some people get disgruntled. They feel like they're being overworked. They feel like, you know, that we might be getting taken advantage of. Again, intertextualities with the Rust set, hiring a cheap, inexperienced armorer in that case for a critical role and then getting her to do the role of 2. What could go wrong? Well, a lot. And Boeing is dealing with the same garbage, the same consequences to that sort of attitude. What could go wrong on Starliner? Well, a lot. And it seems even Boeing is starting to see the writing on the wall. If the Starliner crew return on a Dragon ship, Boeing's humiliation will be complete.
Now his failure is complete.
We can only hope that other companies are watching and taking notes. More haste, even in this hasty world, is not the answer, especially when it comes to aerospace, where the public have an interest, where public safety is crucial. And so remember, that old aphorism still holds true. More haste still means less speed. But here's an update. More haste, more cockroaches. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.